It's no secret the Denver Broncos go up against their toughest opponent of the 2025 season. However, there is news that Denver Broncos fans should be absolutely fired up about, considering it could change the entire trajectory of the season. Two players could be coming back for the matchup against the Eagles. However, one more likely than other. This, I believe, along with some other stuff that I'm going to talk about in today's episode surrounding our glorious QB1, Bo Nix, is evidence of the Broncos season turning around before our very eyes. Welcome in Broncos Country to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. It's your boy, Moose, and I just want to say thank you for an unbelievable September. We hit a bunch of records here on the channel, one of those being our likes. 26,423 likes in the month of September. We now have a goal of 27,000 likes in the month of October. So, if you love Broncos content, if you love news, rumors, everything surrounding your favorite football team, I need you to do me a favor and smash that thumbs up icon. It's free. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about it. The injury news that the Broncos got that is positive, which, believe me when I say this to you, means that the Broncos season could absolutely turn around. It could change everything. They could get two major role players back starting this week. Now, like I said, one player more likely to get back into the swing of things than the other. Who are those two players? Malcolm Roach, who is on short-term IR, and Drew Sanders, who is on short-term IR. Now, Drew Sanders was on IR for a lot longer than Roach was. If you remember, Drew Sanders had that foot injury at the beginning of training camp. So this is going back to the end of July. But Malcolm Roach, who injured himself right before the season started, has a much better opportunity of coming back to playing for the Eagles, or playing against the Eagles, I should say, based off of what Broncos Wire had to say about the situation. They're very close to the team. Before they landed on short-term IR before the team's season opener on September 7th, the Broncos defensive lineman Malcolm Roach with his calf injury and inside linebacker Drew Sanders with his foot injury are now eligible to return for Week 5. Of those two, like I said, Roach seems more likely to get back on the field this week. Denver coach Sean Payton said in July that Sanders' recovery timeline would be a little bit north of 4 to 6 weeks, and that would update about 9 weeks ago. So he's still obviously in a position where he's not quite ready to take the field. However, both players are going to be key in helping stop the run for the Denver Broncos. We've talked ad nauseum, and I don't need to continue to spew to you how important that inside linebacker position is for the Denver Broncos. Dre Greenlaw is now out until bare minimum Week 7. And Drew Sanders has not stepped foot on the field this entire season. So you're rolling with Alex Singleton, who granted played his best game of the season against the Bengals, and Justin Stranad, who has been pleasantly surprising throughout the entirety of the season so far, really stepping up. But you also have Karene Reed, and you can elevate Lavelle Bailey as well. But Drew Sanders, probably more talented than all of those guys. I mean, this is a guy that we truly believe had star potential. He just cannot stay healthy. But Malcolm Roach is the one player that I want to focus on for a second. He is easily a run-stopping machine for you on this defensive line. An area that in this Broncos defense, which is touted as one of the best in the NFL, is probably one of the weaker areas of the Broncos defense right now, their ability to stop the run. But if you were to add Malcolm Roach, who had really good statistics in 2024, to this front line rotation on the defensive line, this is what it's going to look like. Zach Allen, JFM, who has started to play much better, DJ Jones, who's a stud, a tree stump in the middle, Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper as Batman and Robin getting to the quarterback, and then Malcolm Roach as that rotational defensive lineman that can help plug up those gaps. He is easily a huge cog in this defense that is going to be well needed, not only for the Philadelphia Eagles game, but moving forward, going up against the Jets and the Giants and the Cowboys in order to secure those 3 wins. If you can get him back for this Philadelphia Eagles game, it will show that the Broncos defense is coming together cohesively. And not that it wasn't cohesive already, Because according to the 33rd team, the Broncos lead the entire NFL in sacks with 15, quarterback hits with 41, and pressure rate 47.1 through week 4. So you've already got an outstanding defense. And you're going to be getting a player that can help you shore up the one area that Broncos fans know is probably their weaker spot, stopping the run or getting to the quarterback. Which one's better? Duh, it's getting to the quarterback. So getting Malcolm Roach back is absolutely a huge thing, which is why I'm typing my Y for yes. Do you want to see Malcolm Roach back for the Broncos? Do you want to see the Roach, Goach? I don't know what a Goach is, but I said it because it rhymed. I'm Dr. Seuss today. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Coming up next, I'm going to tell you how Bo Nix can put the NFL on notice this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Because like I said, it is the gauntlet of the NFL schedule for the Denver Broncos. This is the toughest test so far. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you about my friends over at PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. You don't want to miss any of the excitement all football season long on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. It is very simple to play. Just pick 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, pick the more or the less, and then write it on in there and win up to 2,000 times your money. Did you know that PrizePicks is the only app, by the way, that offers stacks? Meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want more in the Josh Allen pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns. You can now do all of that in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Speaking of lineups, here's what mine looks like. I want Cubbies for the MLB playoffs. Dansby Swanson, more than half a hit. I think he's going to find his way on base. Dak Prescott, more on the passing yards against, I believe it's the Jets this week. I am correct. And then Jalen Hurts taking the less against the Broncos in passing yards. He can't throw the ball. Yours can look like mine, but it can look completely different. All you got to do is download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. We got an old friend that we're going to see in week 5. Y'all remember Vic? Vic has made a name for himself in Philadelphia. His defense is going to be a tough test. We absolutely know this to be true. He is a very unique defensive coordinator, and I'm sure you guys know better than anybody what kind of defense that he likes to run. But Broncos Sports Illustrated kind of encapsulated everything that I kind of feel about everything leading up to this point in the season, but also talking about Bo a little bit here in just a little bit. The Broncos sit at 2-2 entering week 5, and just like last year, next up, Nix will face one of the stiffest tests of his NFL career in the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles and Vic Fangio's defense. Fangio's scheme confounds quarterbacks, and it can be devastating if his defense is allowed to generate pressure by rushing 4. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Nix arguably made some of the best throws, though, of his career and completed 75% of his 16 passes when blitzed on Monday night against the Bengals, passing for 153 total yards and a touchdown. As PFF notes, he generated 11 first downs throwing against the blitz. What does this mean? Bo is getting better facing pressure. Literally just against the blitz, but also reading defenses. Because I think one thing that we saw earlier this season and going back to last season, the first few weeks, Bo has happy feet in the pocket from time to time. Like when he's facing that pressure, he wants to just jump outside of the pocket as quick as possible. But you see this now against the Cincinnati Bengals, who don't have nearly the pass rush that the Eagles will. When they're throwing their blitzes at him, he's staying steady in the pocket, moving right, moving left, shifting forward, shifting back, just maintaining his spot inside the pocket, keeping his eyes forward, and then making an accurate throw. But like that article said, the Eagles only rely on a 4-man front. They trust their defensive line to put pressure on the quarterback, meaning their secondary can stay stickier longer than most teams because they're able to get a pressure on that 4-man front. They have the 3rd lightest box rate in the NFL at 63.6%. That means they're not going to shove that entire, 8-men personnel inside the box very often because they're going to say, we trust that front to get to you so that our secondary can stay back and cover all those open zones. And also, I think it should be noted that the Eagles run a sub package of 78% against the NFL, which is 14th. Now, that might sound like a whole lot of mumbo jumbo if you're not a football nerd like I am. So what is a sub package? A sub package is very simply put, bringing on an extra defensive back to play in your base defense. So it's like bringing nickel corner, but it doesn't have to be a corner. It could be a safety. So if you're running too high safety, it could be any of those variations. They like to throw in an extra corner, meaning they're going to shut down the pass. However, this could be good news for the Denver Broncos because of how good their offensive line is. You see, when the Philadelphia Eagles go out on defense and they're playing against a subpar offensive line, that 4-man front can rush the quarterback and generate pressure so that wide receivers on the opposing team can't get open. The Broncos have a great offensive line, so they might not be able to run the exact same scheme. So what does it mean? If the Broncos can stifle the Eagles' defensive line, this is like an if-then chart. The run game can explode like it did against the Cincinnati Bengals, and then Bo can also play like he did against the Bengals. So you're going to bait him up with the run, and then when they stack the box with 8 or 9 guys in order to stop the run or send a blitz, Bo, take the top off. Deep digs to Marvin Mims, seam shot to Cortland Sutton like we saw against the Bengals on that touchdown throw at the end of the first half. Whatever the case may be, you can absolutely beat this team. They're not unbeatable. They might be one of the only 2 teams left in the NFL that's undefeated at 4-0. But I think we've seen multiple times, this is not the exact same Philadelphia Eagles team that we've seen over the past 2 seasons. Last year, I thought they were at the height of their power. Now they feel like, okay, they're still a really good unit, but they're not nearly as good as they have been in the last couple of seasons, if that makes sense. I think the Broncos have a legitimate shot to beat this team. That's why my confidence level is at about a 7 right now. It might grow even more as I find out more information as it comes out. But if you, 7 on 7D. There you go. 7D. Thank you, producer Alper. It's a scale of 1 to 100, not 1 to 10. 7D on a scale of 1 to 100. That's why I'm really, really excited for this Denver Broncos game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Either way, you let me know in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Let's have a great start to the month of October, Broncos fans. A mile-high salute to you guys. Be cool.